Hey, deep divers. Ready for a fascinating journey today? We're going to explore something kind of unexpected.
Oh!
Yeah. The connection between stopping asteroid strikes and, tackling big global challenges like climate change and pandemics.
Interesting.
You might be surprised. The skills to, deflect a giant space rock, super relevant to these other issues that seem totally unrelated.
I can see how that might be. At first glance, it's like, what? But when you really look, the approaches we need, kind of similar.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to break down today. But first, let's talk about asteroids. The threat is real, not just sci-fi.
Right. Definitely not sci-fi.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs, they can attest to that. 66 million years ago, poof extinction, all because of that massive asteroid impact.
Yeah, the one that made that huge Chicxulub crater.
It's just a stark reminder.
It is a stark reminder of just how much destruction these things can cause.
And it's not just the massive ones.
Well,
even smaller asteroids, they can do some damage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Take the Tunguska event. In 1908, Siberia asteroid explodes, flattens a huge area of forest.
Twice the size of Manhattan. Yeah, that's a lot of trees. And then there's Chelyabinsk, more recently, 2013, over Russia.
Over 1,000 people injured.
Right. So these events, they show us asteroid impacts are a real and present danger.
Not just something in the movies.
Nope.
Speaking of movies, don't look up. Got people talking. Even if it was satire.
It did, for sure. Brought it into the public consciousness.
Yeah, but the big question is, what can we do about it?
Well, there are a bunch of ideas out there. Different ways to deflect asteroids.
Okay, like what?
Well, the Wikipedia page on asteroid impact avoidance, it outlines a few methods.
Okay, let's hear them. I'm especially interested in the kinetic impactor and let's call it the nuclear option.
All right, so kinetic impactor, think of it as a really fast spacecraft designed to slam into an asteroid.
Oh, to knock it off course.
Exactly, like a cosmic game of pool.
Like kind of what NASA did with DART, that mission where they purposely crashed a spacecraft into that asteroid moon. What was it called? Dimorphos?
Yes, Dimorphos and the DART mission. Huge success. Proof that we can actually change an asteroid's path using this method.
Incredible.
Yeah.
The nuclear option, a little bit more controversial.
It is, but it might be necessary, especially for larger asteroids or the ones we detect late.
So not to blow it up completely.
Yeah, not to blow it to bits, more like use the explosion to vaporize part of its surface.
Create thrust.
Exactly, nudge it off course.
Like a giant rocket engine.
We got it. There's also the standoff approach, detonating it, but at a safe distance, so we don't break it up into a bunch of smaller pieces.
Right. We don't want to create more problems.
Exactly.
Okay, but it's not just about brute force.
You're right.
There are other more subtle ways people are thinking about.
You're right. Scientists are looking into things like gravity tractors.
What's that?
It would use the gravitational pull of a spacecraft to, tug an asteroid off course very slowly.
Oh, wow. Interesting. What else?
Ion beam shepherds, using focused beams of charged particles, again, slowly changing its trajectory.
It's amazing what they come up with.
There's even the idea of using focused solar energy.
Oh, to vaporize material.
Yeah, and create a jet thrust.
It's like a whole toolbox of planetary defense options.
It is. A lot of different approaches.
It reminds me of that MIT student project back in the 60s, Project Icarus. They wanted to use Saturn V rockets and nuclear devices to deflect an asteroid.
Project Icarus, fascinating. It even inspired the movie Meteor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it shows how creative people are thinking outside the box.
Absolutely. But all of this, it relies on one big thing.
What's that?
Detecting these asteroids early.
Right. If we don't see them coming, none of these solutions matter.
That's the key, early detection.
Okay, but how do we even figure out the odds of an asteroid hitting Earth? That's got to be complicated.
It is. It's a process, constantly refining our calculations and observations.
And so the more we learn, the more accurate the predictions get.
You'd think so. But here's the thing. As we gather more data, the estimated impact probability can actually go up.
Really? Wait, why? That doesn't make sense.
I know. It seems counterintuitive. But think about it. With more observations, we get a more precise picture of its path.
So initially, it might seem riskier.
Exactly. But it's because our knowledge is improving. Then, with even more observations, especially radar data, or if we find old images of the same asteroid, we can usually refine those predictions even more.
And hopefully rule out an impact.
Hopefully, yeah.
So it's like a cosmic detective story, trying to figure out if this asteroid is a threat or not. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
But here's what I find so interesting. The things we have to do to deflect an asteroid, they have a lot in common with the things we have to do to deal with, like climate change or pandemics.
You're right, they do. All three of those, they need international cooperation, advanced technology, a long-term perspective. We can't just think about them separately or look for quick fixes.
It's a totally different way of thinking.
It is. It's about understanding that we're all in this together, working together to protect our future.
Yeah, a big shift. And this report, Planetary Emergency 2.0, really gets into that. You see, it's not just about asteroids. It's about, like, multiple planetary emergencies all happening at the same time.
Right. It's kind of a stark picture. Pandemics happening more and more, the carbon budget shrinking fast. Yeah. As of 2020, they estimated we had less than 7 years left.
Yikes. And the danger of pushing the Earth systems too far past those tipping points.
Yeah. It's a real wake-up call.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, hey, we need to change course now. So what do they suggest? What can we do?
Well, they lay out 10 urgent actions, some of them pretty radical.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so one that really stood out. They talk about recognizing certain ecosystems as global commons.
Global commons, what does that mean?
So think of places like the Amazon rainforest, the Congo Basin, the Great Barrier Reef.
Okay.
These are like natural treasures, essential for the planet.
Right, they're important for everyone.
Exactly. And the report suggests that they should be like protected by everyone, globally managed.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, they help regulate the climate, absorb carbon dioxide, support biodiversity.
Right. It's not just a local issue. It's a global one.
We all have a stake in this.
We do.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that what happens in one place affects us all.
It's all connected.
It is. And they also talk about the economy needing to like overhaul our economic systems.
Wow, that's a big one.
They proposed changing how we do taxes.
Taxes.
Yeah, to account for what they call environmental and social externalities.
Okay, so like if a company pollutes, they pay more.
Basically, the idea is to factor in the true cost of doing business.
So it's not just about profit.
Right.
It's about the impact.
Right. If a company harms the environment or contributes to climate change, those costs should be reflected.
And on the flip side, companies that are sustainable, they get rewarded.
Exactly. It's about aligning our incentives with, the well-being of the planet and people.
A more ethical way of doing business.
Yeah, a more holistic way, thinking about the long term.
It's a big shift, but it does make you think, right now, a lot of those costs are just ignored.
They are. We're not paying the true price.
And they also talk about wealth inequality, things like wealth taxes,
Right.
making sure multinational corporations pay their fair share.
It's all part of creating a system that's more equitable, more sustainable, thinking about the long term, not just short-term profits.
Right, and this brings us back to the asteroid thing.
It does, because just like deflecting an asteroid, tackling these global challenges, it requires a shift in perspective.
We need to be willing to invest in the future.
We do, and recognize that we need to work together internationally.
We can't do it alone.
Nope, we're all in this together.
And one area where that's super clear is clean energy.
Oh, yeah. The report, it pushes for a rapid transition away from fossil fuels
Yeah.
and a big increase in investments in renewables.
Like solar and wind?
Yep. They say things like doubling global wind and solar capacity every 4 years.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is tripling annual investments, setting a global floor price on carbon.
To make fossil fuels more expensive.
Yeah, to reflect the true cost. It's a big agenda, but it shows how much needs to change.
It's a huge challenge, but it also feels possible.
It does. There's a sense of we can do this if we really commit.
And what's interesting is how the skills we need for that clean energy transition, they're kind of similar to the skills we need to, defend against asteroids.
Yeah, think about it. To stop an asteroid, we have to track its orbit, develop the tech to change its course, coordinate across nations.
And for climate change, we need to track emissions, develop clean energy tech, work together globally.
It's the same kind of thinking, the same kind of approach.
So it's like preparing for one helps us prepare for the other.
In a way, yeah. The skills we learn, they can be applied across these different challenges.
That's like a cosmic training ground.
I like that, a cosmic training ground for solving global problems.
Yeah. And it makes me think about that DART mission again.
What about it?
Well, it was such a success, such a feat of engineering. It shows what we can do when we work together.
It does. It's inspiring.
But I wonder, what else can we learn from it? What else can we apply to these bigger challenges like climate change or pandemics?
That's a great question. Let's see. Well, DART, It really showed the importance of international collaboration, right? Scientists and engineers from all over the world working towards this one goal.
It's a reminder that we're not just citizens of our own countries, we're citizens of Earth.
We are, and our future depends on us working together.
Absolutely. And DART also showed us the importance of investing in science and technology. I mean, they actually moved an asteroid in space.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It proves we can come up with innovative solutions to problems that seem impossible.
It does. It's a reminder that we have the capacity to solve these really complex problems if we put the resources into it and the expertise.
It makes you think, if we can do that for an asteroid, we can do it for these other threats too, right? Like climate change, pandemics, things that are in some ways even more urgent.
I agree. The success of DART, it's a reason to be optimistic.
It is. It shows that when we work together and we invest in science and technology, we can accomplish incredible things. It's almost like we need a planetary defense force, but not just for asteroids. For all of these threats, a global team, the best scientists, engineers, policymakers, even everyday citizens, all working together to protect the planet.
I love that idea. It really highlights that these aren't just scientific or technological challenges, they're human challenges.
We need to change how we think.
We do think long-term and cultivate this sense of global citizenship.
Being a part of something bigger.
Exactly. And the skills we develop for asteroid defense, like foresight, collaboration, innovation, those are the exact skills we need to deal with. All these complex, interconnected challenges that we're facing in the 21st century.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
But it's also inspiring because if we can find the will and the ingenuity to deflect a giant space rock, maybe, just maybe, we can also rise to the challenge of creating a more sustainable future, a more resilient future, like the asteroid threat. It's a wake-up call.
It is a reminder that we have the potential to not just survive, but to thrive.
If we can come together, use our intelligence, and act with a shared purpose.
Well said. And remember, the future isn't set in stone. It's shaped by the choices we make today.
That's a good point. The things we learn from dealing with the asteroid threat, they can help us build a better future for everyone, for generations to come. Well, deep divers, I hope this deep dive has given you a lot to think about. Make sure to check out the show notes for links to all the source material so you can explore these ideas further. And until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, the future is in our hands.